Matthew at Maddie's. All right, Saturday. Still going here. I got a couple more. One before I get back to a Chevrolet here. Very important. So we have a 2018 F150 here. Customer had reached out for suspension. They could definitely feel something was wrong with the suspension and rear shocks. As if you can't see them leaking, they are pretty weak. These, especially this one, I can just push it in and out. You could definitely tell something was wrong with the ride coming in. So we went ahead and they had requested rear shocks and front struts. We got a set of quick struts we're putting in. And this is a good chance to for some of the do-it-yourselfers out there, Ford F-150s, the Iwe'S. So this job entails pretty much disconnecting the knuckle assembly here, taking the knuckle loose. You want to make sure you have all these vacuum and brake lines and the ABS sensor and all that stuff not having any sort of tension on this thing. The knuckles pretty much got to get taken up and out of the way. Tie rod end we have loose here, and then the Iwe'S, and this is an important one because I know professionals out there that miss this and do things. They go ahead and take apart a front suspension on a Ford like this, and then the customer doesn't have four-wheel drive. Well, I've run into a number of times in my career, and I've done it myself, but the back side of these Ford hubs, you have the Iwe portion, which is this portion that gets air or vacuum, I should say, applied in order to lock or unlock the hub and the gear assembly that's right here to the gear that's inside the Iwe. Now, there's a lot of grease and everything in there. Iwe's are real common, but what happens a lot of times is people don't realize when they're hanging suspension or taking things apart like this, and I know there's professionals out there that do this as well, they're not careful. They don't loosen the CV shaft nut. They don't take the CV shaft out of the knuckle, and guess what happens? You're either putting a ton of tension on the way the Ford suspension is designed. You can't really run these on a hoist with the independent suspension unloaded a lot of times because the angle that the CV shaft is sitting out is an incredible angle just with the suspension unloaded. So now I have taken, again, a number of components. We have the upper control arm off, the outer tie rod nuts off. I got as much of the wiring and brake line and all that stuff disconnected. And I also have the stabilizer bar, not the links, but the bar disconnected for the frame. That's allowing me enough travel to come down with the lower control arm here so I can get the struts in and out. And people do this to put spacers, leveling kits in, all that other stuff. But again, back to the Iwe. It's really important that this surface is clean here on the CV shaft and the gears clean, and then you probably go in and put some fresh grease in there, just a little bit. You don't need a ton because there's already grease in there from the factory and everything, and you don't want to block the vacuum port. But the point is, on the inside of this Iwe, there is a seal on the backside that basically rides up against the CV shaft. If somebody goes in here and just rips this control arm down, pulls on it too much, gets the shaft or the gear caught in that seal, guess what's going to happen when they go to use their four-wheel drive? It's not going to engage properly because the seal's ripped and it's not holding vacuum. I've had a number of Fords, because Fords use that Iwe style. They've used it for years. It's real common. I've had guys put wheel bearings in, not center the back of that CV shaft as that gear's coming in, and guess what? They go to tighten everything down the nut, they just pull it right on through and it rips the seal. And then again, it leads to a 4x4 issue. So when I'm done, the rear shocks are already installed in this. I'm halfway through the struts, as I normally do. Take it on a test drive. I verify everything related to what I have taken apart is working properly with the vehicle before we give it back to the customer, so there's no surprises. But again, do-it-yourselfers, people out there at shops, really important. Really important with that vacuum seal, especially on the F-150s, that you're careful when you're disengaging the CV shaft from the knuckle, disengaging everything, watching out not to damage the seal. If you do separate the seal, make sure everything's all cleaned up, and then a nice little coat of grease will help that reseal and continue to operate as it should. So the other point that I wanted to make, and you can't really see it in the video, but tires. Shocks are a real common issue. If you could feel this, what I'm feeling, but this is basically a cup surface. There's like an uneven wear on the front tires on this. The back tires seem pretty good. I've done a couple of videos with regards to alignment and tire issues, and bad shocks, bad struts. They'll let the tire bounce going down the road, can cause vibrations, but it'll cup the tires. And guess what happens when you have cup tires? I've had a number of individuals reach out thinking they need wheel bearings, etc., because cupping makes highway noise going down the road. It sounds a little bit different than a wheel bearing, but it all makes noise. And it may just be something as simple as making sure rotates are done and you're keeping an eye on the suspension components. So important to notice when you see stuff leaking like those back shocks. There was an excessive amount of film and dirt on the bottom half. You could tell the gas or fluid or whatever was in those that charged them up had leaked out. The front struts, similar issue. Fords are real common to have the springs break. That causes alignment issues along with a ride concern. So make it a great Saturday.